packed up everything, sold everything, and moved me and my kids to Vietnam without ever visiting. And within 2 months of being in Vietnam, I realized I had made a decision that was gonna bite me in the. This is not a Vietnam hate video because Vietnam is a beautiful country and I feel like everyone should visit Asia at some point in their life, not just Vietnam. But in this video, I'm gonna tell you guys why I love Vietnam. Welcome or welcome back to my channel. If you're new here, my name is Shelton and I wanna thank you for clicking on this video. The first thing I wanna talk about are the scams. Before I moved to Vietnam, I did so much research. I looked at so many videos on YouTube to see if I could prepare myself before I just go to this random country that I've never even visited. Y'all, none of them videos could have ever prepared me for the stuff that I experienced in Vietnam. So one of the scams that stood out to me was Airbnb scams. So when you go get an Airbnb and you pay the fee for the Airbnb, you are expecting for everything to be included. But in Vietnam, you got to really read those descriptions because some of those Airbnb listings, they will have where you got to pay deposits on top of the $800 that you already done paid to rent the Airbnb for the month. They also want you to pay the light bill for that month that you rented the Airbnb. That's pointless. So make sure y'all read the Airbnb description before you just book an Airbnb because it's in the listings. I have seen so many reviews of people like, oh my God, I got scammed, this and that and the third, but they had it in there, you just didn't read it at the bottom. As soon as you check in, before you start unpacking, get your camera out and record everything. Like when it comes to the wall, just do like a walkthrough and have everything on video. So that day when you check out, you record again, you're gonna show if something was already damaged before you checked in, you got proof. Out of all the Airbnbs that I rented in Vietnam, I only dealt with 2 people trying to scam me, basically saying that I had damaged the property, but I had proof, you know, so I didn't have to pay anything. Another scam that I had to deal with was with Grab drivers. People are gonna tell you constantly, don't take taxis because they'll scam you. But them Grab drivers will try to scam you too. You do have the option to use your card on Grab, so at that point you won't get scammed. So when I got sick, I was sending my son downstairs to get the food. Every time he would come back, he would never have the correct amount or he won't have the change at all. I'm like, oh, where's the change? The Grab driver's gonna drove off with it. Now, if my food is 200,000 VND, where is the 300,000 VND that I'm supposed to get back? A lot of times they'll come and say, oh, I didn't have change. So just because you don't have change, you think you're supposed to just take my money? You should have let me know that you didn't have change. I could have easily walked to one of the stores, got the change and gave you the money. Another thing, they just drive off and just take the money. Some of them will come back and bring the money like, sorry, and bring it back. But for the most part, they never brought it back. So if you're going to Vietnam, do not send your kids down there to get no Grab orders that you have to pay with cash. Another scam, and this is the last scam that I'm going to talk about because I can go on and on and on about scams, but it's up to you to actually go over there and visit so you can see for yourself. In America, I have never seen no gym membership charge $30+ for a day pass. There's no contracts, and also it's kind of like set pricing for every gym. I have never went to a gym where the price was different for everyone. In Vietnam, that's the thing. You have to sign a contract. Not only do you have to sign a contract, but the pricing is so different. You just being a foreigner, they're gonna just charge you so much money. And how you can prevent this is by reading the reviews for everything, no matter what you're doing over there. Just read the reviews before you go, because them reviews will save you a headache. Also, every gym membership is individual. So for me and my 2 kids, I had to get 3 memberships, and each membership was $100, so $300 for the month. I went to the YMCA in 2019, so it's been some years, so I'm sure it's a little more, but I'm sure it ain't no more than probably like, what, 110. So paying $300 was just overpriced. So the next thing I want to talk about is the cost of living. I watched so many videos that say you can live off $1,000 a month. Some of you say you can live off $500 a month. But I'm going to say that probably was a thing years ago, not in 2026. For a decent place to stay, like a hotel, you're gonna pay $600. And if you're one of those people, it's like, you know what, I want to sign like a long-term lease, just be prepared that you got to pay like 3 months of rent up front plus the current month. I met a couple people over there that had a long-term lease that was actually getting ready to go back home and weren't able to get their deposit back. And, you know, it's just one of them things. It ain't even worth like trying to hire an attorney to try to figure out the laws or what you need to do and how can you do a civil suit to get your money back. It ain't even worth it at that point, you know, because it's going to cost you even more money than what you already paid them. So I decided to stick with Airbnb just to be on the safe side. Most of the Airbnbs that I rent were around like $800 a month. I got lucky and was able to find one in Ho Chi Minh City for $600 a month. And it was a 2-bedroom, 2-bath, but it was an older building too, but it was in a perfect location. If you are a solo traveler, I would honestly say you would need at least $2,000 a month to live comfortable in Vietnam. And that's just like in a place to stay, actually going out. And I know some people may say, no, I don't need that much. I guess you wouldn't need that much if you stay in like a homestay. If you're comfortable with 10 plus people that you don't know, that's coming from all over the world, you have to ask yourself, is it worth it? Vietnam is a safe country, but you don't know why these people left their home country. People are crazy these days, so you gotta really be careful too. For a family of 3, like mine's, I would say you would need at least $3,000, and that's minimum. You have to be prepared for doctor visits because they're gonna happen. You're gonna get sick, or your kid's gonna sick, especially if you eat the street foods. Emergencies always happen, so you need to have money for that too. My grocery bill in the US was $1,000 a month. When I went to Vietnam, it like doubled to like $2,000 a month because my kids didn't eat Vietnamese food. I was the one that decided to jump up and take my kids overseas. My kids are American born and raised. They're used to a certain lifestyle. So in order for me to maintain that lifestyle overseas, I had to accommodate them since I jumped up and moved. I couldn't force my kids to eat Vietnamese food. My youngest son, I tried to give him Vietnamese food one time and he just started starving himself. When you go grocery shopping, you can get some of the items from the local grocery stores, which is going to be very affordable compared to going to the international grocery stores. But see, the international grocery stores is what's going to have almost everything that you want to need. I'm going to insert some pictures so y'all can see how much it cost me just to make tacos overseas. Because my kids wanted tacos, so I was like, let's just try this to see if I can save money this way. I ended up spending the same thing or more than I would spend in the US. Pork is really big in Vietnam, and I don't eat pork. So I was buying ground beef, and ground beef is so expensive over there. You have to keep in mind that the portion sizes are so small. So for one meal for a family, you're gonna need at least 2 packs of meat. So the next thing I want to talk about is hair care. And if you see me looking down, looking at my notes, hair care is extremely expensive in the US. So I give it to Vietnam. Vietnam hair care is so affordable. But that goes out the window if the hair care isn't good. I got sick in Vietnam from eating street foods and ended up having a bacteria infection, but it took me going to an international hospital 4 times before the doctor could figure out what was wrong. Every week, a new symptom would come. And at that point, for that month, I had spent $320 because each visit was $80 with medication included. I could have lost my life overseas due to this infection that I had, all because I wasn't getting the proper care. And my kids would have been stranded abroad. So that's something else to keep in mind. If you're traveling overseas alone, you got to be really, really careful because emergencies gonna happen. That's another reason why you hear so many people saying that they go to Thailand for hair care. I just feel like that is just way too much. You constantly getting on flights, especially if you got a family. You constantly getting on flights going back and forth. This child might be sick this week. Another child might be sick next week. It could be an emergency, life or death situation. So you might not have enough time to get on a flight and go to Thailand to get seen. The next thing I want to talk about are visas. There are no long-term visas in Vietnam. Unless you get married, you open up a business, and I think that's pretty much it. So you're going to have to do a visa run every 90 days, and I tell you, it's going to cost. But me and my 2 kids, throughout that whole year of being in Vietnam, each visa run costed $515. So the process in Ho Chi Minh City was shorter, but it was a difficult process because there were no staff members telling you what to do. So I had to kind of rely on the other people who had done did the visa run, which was very, very uncomfortable for me because I'm a loner. And I also have social anxiety and don't really like to talk to people. But we made it through. But the only thing I didn't really like, it was only one person stamping passports. And the part that was the most difficult was standing in line. Like my son kept whining and crying. He said his feet was hurting. My job, we had been standing in line for like at least 2-3 hours because it was only one person stamping passports. So when I used Lynn Visa to do my visa run in Da Nang, that process was all day, y'all. For the simple fact that Da Nang is further away from the border. We had to get up at like 6 that morning, and then I think we made it there around like 12. So it's probably like a 5-6 hour drive. So the kids constantly moving around on the bus, can't sit down, be still. There's no bathroom on the bus. You know, they have to constantly keep doing stops. And my youngest son, he goes to the bathroom a lot. So it was just so stressful, y'all. But we made it to the border and had staff out there to help guide you and lead you throughout the whole process. So you basically just sitting around while they do all the hard work. And then you get back on the bus and you go back home. We got back home at around like 10 p.m. Both times I did the visa run with Lynn. You also had the option to go to a neighboring country, spend some time over there until your visa is approved. But I honestly feel like you're going to spend way more money doing that because you still got to pay for your place to stay in Vietnam. And then on top of that, now you got to pay for flights for everybody to get there and get back. You have to buy food when you get there. Please keep in mind that Vietnam at any given time can crack down on visa runs. Cause I just recently heard that Thailand has got stricter with their visa runs. So I can only imagine, you know, how many people have moved from Thailand to Vietnam just due to the visa issues. So the next thing I want to talk about is my kids. My kids struggled in Vietnam, and it wasn't just with the language barrier. We weren't even in Vietnam 3 days before the police had been called because my youngest son decided to get a weight from up under the bed and throw it over the balcony. Mind y'all, we're on the 16th floor. That weight could have hit somebody in the head because people was walking down there. I ended up dozing off because I hadn't been out all day, so when I got back to the Airbnb at around like 8 o'clock, I was tired. So I ended up dozing off. Didn't think that he would go on the balcony because I had already told them not to open that door. The police ended up coming out and they ended up charging me like $300 for that incident. I don't know if that was a bribe or what, because I actually gave them the money. I didn't have to go nowhere to pay it or anything. But that resolved that issue and we moved forward. But it was still issues on the way. My oldest son, he started struggling and worse, you know, going to school online compared to what he did in person. So I'm like, oh my God, it's definitely time to go back. And another thing, the traffic is very chaotic in Vietnam. You got to really know what you're doing when you're trying to cross the street. You know, been so many times when my kids almost got ran over by a car because they thought they knew how to cross the street and really didn't. And putting my kids in extracurriculars started to be extremely expensive. And like I said, they are already overcharged. So it was just, I'm always just going on back to the US because I'm spending way too much money over here. When I tried to put my kids in boxing after they did Jitsu, the instructor tried to charge me $800 per child. So that would have been $1,600 a month. I'm going to insert the messages so y'all can see it. That's crazy. It was only going to be 12 sessions, 1 hour sessions a day for both of them, and $1,600. And as a mom, I was like, I can't deal with all this stress. And that's when I knew it was time to go back home. Vietnam wasn't a mistake, it was a lesson because I would never, ever pack up my stuff and move to no country. I don't care where it's at again because it's going to be them pros and them cons. It's best to go and visit that place before you actually just jump up and just move over there, because being in Vietnam, it humbled me in so many ways. You start to be grateful for what you have in America, all that stuff that you was complaining about. You realize that your life is not as bad as you tried to make it seem, because there's always somebody out there that's dealing with something way worse. If you're thinking about moving to Vietnam, please visit first. Do not rely on YouTube. Ask real questions. Make sure you're prepared financially because Vietnam is beautiful, but it's not as cheap as these YouTubers make it seem.